Not only does Yuta have Rika, the Queen of Curses, he can also copy any power, which led him to be labeled the next Gojo. Don't believe me? Well, on Yuta's first day as a sorcerer, he was ranked as a special grade. This is only reserved for anomalies in the world, as their strength and destructive power are immeasurable. In chapter 203, Kenjaku claimed that a special grade is someone capable of wiping out an entire nation with one hand behind their back. That's why Yuta is the trump card against Sukuna, like the team believes. However, remember what Gojo said? Was he wrong to think Yuta would reach his level one day? Kenjaku certainly thought so. Famous last words for someone who died by his hands.
Are you not ashamed of yourself?
But it's not only Kenjaku that doubted Yuta's strength. A lot of you guys did as well. Let's not act like I didn't read your comments. But I'm here to make your doubts go away. Let's begin with Yuta's first power-up when Rika was killed. The love Yuta had for Rika ended up resulting in a curse. Thus, she turned into a vengeful spirit who spent years haunting him. This led to his mental health collapsing, as whenever someone threatened to get close enough, Rika would appear to protect him. He couldn't control her, which caused Yuta to distance himself from everyone. For example, in high school, Rika dealt severe injuries to 4 students who bullied him. So just like Gojo had Limitless, which created a barrier between himself and the world, Yuta was suffering from a similar problem, as no one could truly understand their strength and loneliness. Kenjaku told us that the techniques of a sorcerer dictate their world, and life is poetic in that regard. At first, Yuta wanted to self-delete because of Rika's violent actions, but she wouldn't let him do that either.
Like, just kill me, man. I don't want to live.
However, this case made Yuta appear under Jujutsu School's radar. Much like Yuji, Yuta was set to be executed due to the tricky situation he found himself in. But once again, it was Gojo who pulled the strings to keep him alive. This led to him becoming Gojo's student. Thus, he pointed him in the right direction to fulfill his insane potential, despite being just a mere grade 3 sorcerer without Rika at the time. But why does Rika make such a difference to his powers? Well, Yuta ended up at Jujutsu High so that he could figure out Rika's curse. The author Gege states that Rika's mother died suddenly of unknown causes when she was 5. As Megami stated at the beginning of JJK, all the unexplained deaths in Japan are due to curses or sorcerers, which led to speculation that Rika had killed her mother after unlocking a curse technique. But bruh, it gets worse when we bring up her father. Rika and her dad went mountain climbing and got lost. After a week of them being missing, Rika was found at a shelter with her father nowhere to be found. His death is unconfirmed and Rika never clarifies anything. In the hospital after being saved, Rika had met Yuta, where later they ended up attending the same elementary school. But after leaving the hospital, Rika was taken in by her grandmother, who believed that she killed her parents. In her profile, it states Rika would manipulate adults, being aware of her cute appearance. She hated everyone except for Yuta. Yeah, she's that crazy ex. We learn in Volume 0 that Rika, if left alone, could destroy a town just like a special grade. However, Gojo covers this up and states that she came from a non-sorcerer family. He creates an excuse that it's impossible to control something that they don't understand and that they should leave it be. On the other hand, there is no excuse not to download Dofus Touch. Statistically, it is one of the most popular games on the planet, with more than 300,000 monthly players. And now, you can play it too. That means you can enjoy an immersive fantasy world and take part in epic quests through dungeons with your friends. Even Gojo wouldn't be bored since there's thousands of maps to explore, so the fun is endless. Just pick one of 15 classes such as damage, tank, heal, summoning, and more. The new update in December means you can put your friends in their place by challenging them in a 1v1 1v1 in the last Coliseum feature, play in teams of 3 or 1v1 duels. It's absolutely free to play. Use our link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to jump straight into the world Dofus Touch has to offer, as it helps support the channel. But let's get into Yuta's true power and why he can help defeat Sukuna. A major source of Yuta's strength is the promise ring Rika stole from her grandmother as they agreed to get married. However, it was Yuta's obsession that led to Rika being cursed without him realizing it. This ring held Rika's soul to the world after her death. Kenjaku even points out when talking to Gojo in Shibuya that Yuta could not be the next him because his abilities were only due to detaining a loved one's soul. But this dude is in denial of Yuta's power. This is because he freed Rika from the curse no longer detaining her. However, the curse spirit remains with him even after her soul is unbound from it, symbolizing a manifestation of her love that she left behind to protect him. This highlights the opposite use of sorcery compared to Gojo, who uses it selfishly as described in chapter 236, and he seeks love through fighting. Yuta, on the other hand, uses his power to protect those he cares for, stating he's blessed to have friends. The Queen of Curses fundamentally became Yuta's external storage to help him utilize his copy, along with providing him with more curse energy, which, mind you, surpasses Satoru freaking Gojo. Whilst his curse energy is limitless, Yuta is described as bottomless. Even Geto mentions how she has endless curse energy. However, it was impossible for Yuta to control it. Hence, Gojo gave him his iconic katana, the very same one that has been seen him slaying special grade cursed spirits for fun, as it acted as a suitable vessel to help stabilize such ridiculous power. But to put things into perspective, Rika is such a strong cursed spirit that Geto stated his plans of killing all the monkeys succeeding would be raised from 20% to 99% should he get his hands on her. Therefore, guess what? He attempted to. He started an entire war. This was Yuta's first initial test of strength in the face of Suguru Geto. Now bear in mind, Geto was a special grade sorcerer on the same level as Gojo prior to his enlightenment against Toji. His reaction speeds alone surpassed that of a bullet, which is just above 1000 miles per hour. Suguru blitzed Maki, who was able to catch Mai's boosted one, meaning Geto could casually move at 1500 miles per hour. However, during volume 0, Yuta was able to outspeed Geto and hit him with a devastating black flash. This increased his strength to the power of 2.5, which allows him to unlock the other abilities of black, which are to enter 120% of your potential, making curse energy manipulation as natural as breathing, and even replenishing the use of reverse curse technique. Remember that landing even one already means your understanding of curse energy is immeasurable compared to those who haven't. Had it not been for him previously breaking his sword by overflowing it, Yuta would have killed Geto with one slash to the head, which is something he claimed he would do. I mean, how disrespectful is that? Yuta, in just a few short weeks, defeated someone who once shared the title of the strongest. However, with Yuta failing to land the killing blow, the responsibility fell onto the shoulders of Satoru Gojo. This proved to be a fatal mistake for Yuta, one he vowed to never let happen again. He knows that killing Geto changed Gojo. It hurt him, especially when Kenjaku entered the chat. He took over Geto's body and used it for his evil doing. This is to use his technique to merge Master Tengen with humanity, as she evolved akin to a cursed spirit due to Riko Amanai's merger failing. Therefore, a new monster could be born to fulfill his desire to see something new whilst killing millions of lives. And what's even worse is the prospect of having to kill Geto once more. And so, Yuta wanted to protect his sensei and pay him back by promising to land the killing blow next time. He believes in Gojo's dream and is desperate to make his vision come true, to reform the corrupt society for the better and protect sorcerers so they can live out the best years of their lives. This brings us to his training arc to increase his power level further. Rika, stop Start the montage, please. Yuta attended the Goodwill event the year before Yuji, Nobara, and Megumi did. During this period, he learned most of his fighting style from Maki. In that event, Yuta won by a landslide, with it being a one-sided affair. That's why Todo was looking for Yuta, who still held a grudge against him for getting slapped up silly. Mind you, Yuta without Rika now outscales Todo, a grade 1 sorcerer, someone who single-handedly defeated 5 grade 1 cursed spirits and a special grade in a single night. This puts into perspective just how fast Yuta's power level grows. He's already gone from grade 3 to cooking up grade 1s with ease on his own.
Is cooking.
So with Gojo's goal to get the next generation as powerful as him, as he knows the fight with Sukuna is inevitable, he told Yuta to go to Africa and be trained by Miguel. His return to the story was at the request of his sensei, who told him to come back if something were to happen to him. And of course, Gojo got sealed, where all the corruption became rampant, hitting its peak due to Kenjaku, and they blamed the good guys for practically everything. This brought about the execution of Yuji Itadori, which Yuta was ordered to perform. We learned just how much powerful Yuta had become, as Yuji was described as a demon god at this point by Choso, and his development after defeating an evolved Mahito was absolutely insane. For example, Yuji was capable of thinking of 4 things at once within 0.2 seconds, on top of using a black flash almost at will. He used it to deal enough damage to kill Mahito in one punch, and can even move around 2,300 miles per hour. This is because he matched Maki's speed and strength against Sukuna later on in the story. However, Yuta still outclassed them by a huge margin, even now with the way he is described as being the trump card to defeat Sukuna. And since we know Maki is essentially the same as Toji Fushiguro, any feat we have seen him, Maki, and Yuji do, such as, you know, taking out the entire Zenin clan, enduring 1200 degrees Celsius, surviving Gojo's red, destroying the disaster curses, Yuta can pretty much do as well and beyond. As a result, we can recognize Satoru Gojo's statement in regards to special grades and other rankings becoming meaningless. It's now true. Maki Zenin is like Toji, who defeated Gojo before he mastered RCT. Hence, by definition, they are special grade. Therefore, the next generation of sorcerers are way stronger than the higher-ups recognized in the official ranking. In his fight against Yuji, we learned that Yuta can constantly reinforce his entire body and all of his attacks at the level of an elite sorcerer. However, the problem isn't reading his moves, which are already difficult, but every attack can be decisive and he can restrict all damage to a minimum. This is because we got to witness how profound he is in the art of reverse curse technique and just how much curse energy he has. After stabbing Itadori through the heart, he killed him.
Oh Lord. Again.
In fact, Yuta's presence alone caused those nearby to shake in fear, like Yuji even mistaking his aura to be Gojo. And by the way, did you know Yuta is also resistant to curses unlike everyone else? But this is only the beginning of his hacks, as his powers will stack up more and more as I continue his story. Because in chapter 179, it is stated by Ryu that regrowing an arm with RCT is a hell of a feat, whereas Yuta brought people back from the dead, which is astronomically higher. This meant he could escape the binding vow the higher-ups placed him under, whilst also getting Yuji to safety. What's more, Yuta has more applications than Gojo, as Gojo cannot heal others. Yet Yuta has reached a point of also being able to heal poison in others. Now I know what you're probably thinking, oh my god, ABT is glazing Yuta way too hard. But look here guys, we're trying to prove Gojo was right to believe he could help defeat Sukuna. I mean, if the request for protection from a 1,000-year-old sorcerer in Tengen isn't enough to make you think so, well, after killing Yuji, he went straight for his brother Choso, and with one hit, he was able to completely knock him out. This is something not even Kenjaku did, as even though he called his son useless with Choso having 0 chance, the power difference still wasn't enough to end the fight in a single hit. This not only proves Yuta's raw power, but also the speed, as Choso wasn't able to react in time. This leads me to explaining the story with his battle against Ryu and Uro. It was here that Yuta showcased a whole new level of power. He was trusted with battling the entire Sendai colony all on his own, amassing one of the highest point tallies. We learned in chapter 173 that 3 months after the night parade of 100 demons, Yuta returned, second only to Gojo in the art of unusual abilities. And none come more unusual than killing your opponent with a mouth-to-mouth and kissing them, you know what I'm saying? Ew! In the battle with Oh my god, I'm gonna struggle with this, guys. Kuroushi. Corrected, I don't know how to pronounce this, guys.
A few minutes later.
In the battle with Kuroushi, Yuta did not hesitate at all in relentlessly attacking to save people, fulfilling the promises he made of not letting anyone suffer. This fight gave us a glimpse into his sensory abilities, as during the battle, he realized that he was being watched by 2 powerful players. Because of this, he did not want to reveal his technique, knowing he'd face off against them as well. Despite that, Yuta effortlessly destroyed a swarm of reinforced cockroaches with just a single swing of his sword. Nonetheless, in a last-ditch attempt at survival, Yuta knew that the mouth was the shortest distance between his hands and brain. Because of this, he converted his reverse curse technique and delivered a blast right into the head with a big ol' smooch, killing the special grade instantly. He then weakened himself further by leaving Rika to watch over civilians nearby. Whilst on his ones, he took on 2 special grade ancient sorcerers, Ryu and Uro. This would suggest that in less than a year, Yuta had perfected his own abilities without Rika to close the gap and become a special grade sorcerer on his own. In the battle with Ryu, Yuta reinforced his body with curse energy to the point that it felt like he was kicking a water tank. Even Granite Blast, a powerful technique capable of destroying an entire town, was simply deflected with Yuta's bare hand, and he also tanked one with ease. In chapter 178, Yuta reveals his trump card by summoning Rika and connecting to her through the ring. When Ryu fires a Granite Blast directly at her, she, much like Yuta, effortlessly blocks it with her bare hand, causing Ryu to claim that Rika might be even tougher than him. Whilst this just seems like a simple defensive feat, it's actually far more impressive, as Ryu has the highest curse energy output of any player in the Culling game. He even defeated every single opponent he faced 400 years ago. So that's why Rika found herself overwhelmed by Ryu's power. His blast was confirmed to be stronger than hers and was enough to take out Rika at full power. So anyone claiming Yuta isn't that strong whilst he defeated these guys in a clutch of a 3v1 is downplaying his power level, especially as I'm about to reveal the next hack's ability, his copy. We saw him take Inumaki's cursed speech whilst fighting Geto back in volume 0. However, he did not have good control over it, requiring a megaphone and even stating to himself how skilled Inumaki must be to use the technique. But by chapter 178, Yuta had mastered it. This gives Yuta an incredibly diverse ability to inflict almost anything on his opponents that is within his own imagination and language, as seen when he could even freeze special grades like Uro in place. However, that's not the end of it. He also copied the technique of drug. This allowed Yuta to use strands of his hair as a medium to create new Shikigami in Rika's image, to cut Uro in several places and create an opening to land a punch on her. The list keeps going though. During his battle with Uro, Rika bit off her arm, which was one of the conditions to allow him to copy her technique. This meant he could now treat space as a tangible surface and use uses a thin icebreaker, which is exactly what he did against Ryu. He deflected his blast into the air, and then, using just his sheer strength alone, held Ryu in place with enough force that the ground beneath his feet shattered. This left the ancient sorcerer a sitting duck to be taken out by his own attack. But we can't just breeze through his use of Uru's sky manipulation, because it's actually a budget version of Gojo's Limitless, as it's space manipulation. With these multiple powers combined, Yuta has the potential to reach Gojo as he is only 17 years old. By the time he becomes 29 like his sensei, imagine the countless techniques and combination of powers that could occur to increase his chances of winning a fight. We all know in JJK, an opponent would be able to decipher one technique, but what would happen when they have to deal with all the others, as each curse technique creates different variables requiring their strategies to fight against. This is exactly why Ryu lost to Yuta. For example, breaking down just one of his copy, using Uru's technique, Yuta can defend by distorting the shape of her opponent's attack. He didn't know why the shape of his arm could be distorted even though there was no pain. This is effective even against opponents like Sukuna, which would create an opportunity for everyone to attack. Thin icebreaker is unblockable as well, and sky manipulation is a perfect counter to other projectiles. Uro deflected granite blast and threw it back to Ryu with ease. So essentially, if Yuta fulfills his potential at a higher level, he will be able to control everything inside the sky, including matter and living things. He just needs the model to learn, just like Sukuna did with his cleave. But your next question is, can Yuta copy Gojo's Limitless? Well, Gege did reveal that others can use the Limitless technique. However, it's extremely difficult to use and requires sophisticated manipulation of curse energy. Thus, Yuta most definitely fits that criteria. The issue lies in the lack of 6 eyes, as this is what allows Gojo to use Limitless properly. But speaking of him, the gang accumulated points in the culling game to create new rules for their plan, and they also had Angel, who had the power to nullify the prison realm. Things were going all too well, as Megami pointed out. That's when disaster struck like a natural calamity. Sukuna used the binding vow on Yuji to take over Megami's body. He then proceeded to give him the worst week of his life by killing his sister and submerging Megami in a Kodaku ritual to weaken his soul. However, Gojo was finally unsealed and agreed to fight Sukuna on December 24th. And I can't go through this again, guys. We all know what happened.
I just can't do it. I can't take this movement.
Even Yuta tried to join the fight, but the gang stopped him, as he was their backup plan to be the next Gojo. Plus, there was a decree of honor behind this fight for the title of Strongest. Had he joined in, Gojo would not have used his final plan and the unlimited hollow purple. Yuta would have been a hindrance, possibly dying to the blast. But before the grief of losing Gojo, the gang made contingency plans for the worst possible scenario of his defeat. This was to send Takaba to fight Kenjaku, as he has the power to warp reality, where even 1,000 years of his experience would amount to nothing. However, since Takaba doesn't kill, Yuta would be sent to sneak in whilst he is distracted. Therefore, the many curse energy detectors Kenjaku placed around the culling game would not be able to inform him of their movements, especially since Takaba's technique could only be countered if his wish of a comedy manzai show is fulfilled with no distractions. This is where Yuta's promise is finally fulfilled. Despite Kenjaku noticing him in the last moment and attempting to use the anti-gravity curse technique, Yuta was too fast. He dodged this attack before Kenjaku could even activate it and chopped his freaking head off. Keep in mind, Kenjaku is reaching the pinnacle of Jujutsu, being able to cast an open domain, which was described to be like an artist painting a masterpiece not on a canvas but on air. This was stated again in chapter 225, that it's like running the software without the hardware, and it's something impossible that Yuta himself believed. Kenjaku casually tanked a black hole that could destroy the entire planet by using his anti-gravity. But with Yuta's insane potential, it's only a matter of time before he reaches the strongest. How else could he outspeed a man who was diligently looking out for him? As Kenjaku admitted in chapter 239, it showcases that even he knew their fight would be disastrous due to the risk involved. To prove this, Yuki was using an increase of mass to make her punches more dense and powerful. Yet, these attacks were not enough to stop Kenjaku and make him incapacitated, yet somehow, one sneak attack from Yuta had enough attack potency to kill Kenjaku in one hit. After this feat, Gojo's glazing of Yuta by claiming him to be a successor makes a lot more sense now. This is one of the reasons he is the most talented sorcerer of all time, which is only further proven by the fact that Yuta mastered domain expansion in just a year of training, a technique that even Nanami, Mei, and many others were never able to master and are powerful grade 1 sorcerers. We know that domain expansion is like the truest form of curse technique and amplifies an attack into a must hit. I'm telling ya, Yuta's gonna help defeat Sukuna. But to enjoy more peak fiction, you know who's gonna help him? Yuji Itadori. His soul is stronger than Sukuna. So go watch this video on your screen right now to find out how.